it's going to be 11 in the next 12 weeks, so I should be missing Easter. And I think there's a slide. So I think there's a slide. Amber's doing like 15 things today. So she's doing a lot. But I think there's a slide that she's going to go back up. She make sure I'm standing in the right place. In the right place now?
Yes.
And maybe there's a slide that shows all the things we're going to be doing. The 11. I say 11 in the next 12 weeks because one of those weeks we're going to take a split for a service to service, and we'll talk to you guys about that as it goes along. So this is how it breaks down. This is in an email. Oh, no, go back. Maybe you may have to pull off the timer. Yeah. So this is also in our email, our weekly email, as is an explanation that I gave last week. You can grab that, or you can grab it on our YouTube page. You're like, I didn't know you have a YouTube page. We have a YouTube page. Just search Highlands Marietta, you'll find it. And you get a fuller explanation about what I talked about last week, which is basically around the idea of good relationships involve good communication. And relationships actually can be neither good or bad, but communication can really affect whether they become good or bad. But this week I want to talk to you a little bit about the why related to Highlands specifically. We have these 4 values that drive all our decision making. I don't know if you knew that or not. You can see those on our website. The first one is we believe that people are transformed by the Spirit. Just to give you a version of that, is that we at Highlands, we don't think that ultimately our world has a political problem or an economic problem or a racial problem. We believe all those are symptomatic of a spiritual problem. We believe that the ultimate brokenness that exists in humanity is spiritual, and so for people to really experience transformation, we can change systems all we want, we can change people in power all we want, but until people are transformed spiritually, ultimately we'll continue to make the same mistakes. And so primarily at Highlands, we want to talk about spiritual issues. We want to get at the spiritual heart of things. And so if you'll look, these are all kind of spiritual issues. And there are practical applications to spiritual issues. We don't think that that's not true. There should be an outgrowth, but ultimately we think that the brokenness that exists is spiritual. So if we're going to experience transformation, that's also spiritual. Another value we have, we talk about this a lot, is we believe that the church as a community is called to be a city on a hill. Jesus talked about the people who follow God being salt and light in a city on a hill. And basically what that means is as a community, the church should show a better way to live. And so one of the things we're going to try to do over these 11 weeks is we are going to try to enact and workshop a better way to engage around spiritual issues. One of the things that I've said, and I'll say it again and again, is that we're not asking you to all agree. In fact, we're expecting you to not agree on certain things. We're just saying this is kind of where Highlands stands on this issue, and we want to learn as a people how to interact around important issues, especially ones that we may disagree on, because the church has not done a good job of that. The church often splits when it disagrees across time, and we don't think that's best because of our third value. Our third value is that we believe that God's people interact best when they think of each other as a family. A lot of churches, a lot of communities of faith interact as though God's people are supposed to all be friends, or they're supposed to all be in the same club, or they're supposed to all think the same way and be aligned the same way about issues, or you're going to always like each other and spend all this time with each other. But ultimately, especially in the New Testament, the way that the community of faith, the way that the church specifically is talked about is as a family. God is a father. Jesus is our brother, our big brother, and ultimately we're brothers and sisters and we're children of God. And so at Highlands, we try to think of ourselves as the family of God. And the way that I tend to describe that is that we may not agree on everything, but even in our diversity, we have a unity of faith because we have the same Father. And so how do you do that effectively? How do you disagree and have a diversity of thought, but have a unity of faith? And we're hoping that we'll workshop some of that this week. And a big part of that, if you've ever been in a family that's able to pull that off, very few of us have, but a big part of that is respect. Right? Is respect in interaction. And that's going to be a word I want you to remember when you're talking around your tables, is this idea of like, we don't have to agree, but we do want to create a place of respect, and we do want to build towards a unity of understanding with each other. And so that's one of the things, that's one of our goals, is to get us as a family of God to be able to say, we may not agree on everything, but we want to grow in connection, we want to grow in respect, and ultimately we want to grow as individuals. We want to be iron that sharpens iron, the Bible talks about. People that even though when we butt up against each other, our ideas butt up against each other, we actually get better, right? It's not even just that we agree to disagree. It's actually we become better and sharper as a result of those interactions. And that's the fourth value that we seek to live by at Highlands, which is we believe in discipleship. Discipleship, I told you guys this last week, discipleship is just kind of a Bible word that says growing closer to who God intended for me to be. But we believe discipleship happens best in relationship. We don't think discipleship happens. This is the problem sometimes with people that would say, I'm spiritual, but I don't have a community of faith. It is because ultimately, like I would say the Bible teaches that nobody grows as a solitary person of faith. That ultimately we need these other people around us relationally. And I was thinking about that. I talk about that a lot. And I use, the phrase I use, which is really clunky, is we want to talk and listen to God and people about God and people, which is like a mouthful. So I'm going to give you guys an example of what I think relational discipleship could look like around a difficult issue. All right, and I'm going to play both parts in this. You may not know this, but when I was a junior in high school, I was the Region 6 Quad A Best Actor. That's right, I won the Region 6 Quad A Best Actor, thank you. And you're about to see it on display. Are you ready? I'm going to play Person A and Person B at Highlands in a relational discipleship interaction. All right, so Person A, here's Person A. Oh, hey. How are you? What's going on in your life this week? Here's Person B. Oh my gosh, I am just so sick of political person X. And I just hate political party X. And I can't believe that anybody would ever want anything to do with political person X and political party X. Back to Person A. Person A talking to God. Oh my gosh, this is going to be a difficult situation. I don't know how to talk to this person. God, please give me your heart and your revelation for this interaction. God, what should I say? Oh, that's really interesting. What is it about political person X or political party X that you really find in contrast with like your core values? Oh, political person X, political party X, they do this. They say this, and I can't believe anybody who had any kind of knowledge, heart, whatever, fill in the blank, would ever trust that person. Oh, wow, I understand that. I can understand why you would be upset about that. Now, I would say that we know, as people who believe the Bible has good things to say, as people who believe that following Jesus is a good thing, I would say I wouldn't put my trust in political person X or political party X or political person Y or political party Y. Because people are corrupt and people have problems. What would you think about that? Yeah, that's probably true, but some people are worse and some people are, this is way worse and I can't believe it. How can anybody say they would follow Jesus and follow political person X and political party X? Okay, I get that. I see that you're passionate, and you're right, there are things that are worse or better, things that are more in line with God and less in line with God. So what do you think God has made you passionate about in a positive way? So let's stop talking about the negatives of political person X and political party X, but what do you think God has made you positive, like passionate about? Where's that anger coming from? What's the positive piece of that? Oh my gosh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think I have to think about that. I have to think about what does God want and why did God put that in my heart? Well, that's awesome. I love that you're passionate. I think God's a God of passion. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pray for you that God will give you real revelation about how you're supposed to act out or speak out in a positive way about that. In fact, can I pray for you right now? Sure. That would be great. I appreciate it. In sync. All right? There you go. That was so uncomfortable for me even playing both parts that my mouth is dry. So again, that's a little clunky and it doesn't always go like that. But that's one of my dreams for how Highland interacts. Right? One of my dreams for us is that we would be people that would be able to think in terms of that, in terms of our interaction. So we're going to challenge you over these next 6 weeks. We're not going to challenge you like that. That's like top level challenge. We're going to start low. Right? We're just going to talk about some of these basic ideas of church. And hopefully we will learn how to interact and listen to God and listen to each other and talk to God and talk to each other and find ways to help each other grow. Does that make sense? So I really think that this is a part of embracing our values. So that's the big why. So we have this up here for a few reasons. One is we want you to see what we're talking about when. So you can say, hey, these are the things I want to circle, I want to make sure I'm here for. Or these are the things that people in my life have a lot of questions about, and I want to make sure they might be here for that. I think that would be a good conversation to watch them engage in. And so that's up there for that. It is also kind of up there where you're like, man, I want to stay away from that conversation. I want nothing to do with that. No, I want you to be here. Even on the conversations that would make you uncomfortable, I actually think it will help you grow. The third reason I have that up there is that I'm horrible at naming things. Christy feels like that this sermon series needs a good name. I'm horrible at naming things. And so here's one of the things you're going to do at your table before you leave today. You're going to come up with a name for this series at your table. And then your discussion leader is going to share that with us this week. And we're going to decide, if we think they're all bad, we're not going to pick any of them. But we're going to try to pick one that maybe we think suits it and explains this well. All right? Is that good? All right, so you guys are ready to jump into week number 1.